joints together. Two little pigs.
Phone call. Lotto office. We sold a winner yesterday.
What's the payout? $96,000.
Holla.
Hi, folks. Congratulations. This movie is poppin'. I'm so excited for people to see it and fall in love. Corey, I'd like to start with you. One of the things that really strikes out with me about this movie is how elevated and magical it is. I mean, you get involved in some of the kind of trippiest, coolest sequences between, you know, your song at the end and then 96,000 and that all that animation that happens. Could you speak to what it was like working with those fantastical elements and trying to nail the choreography for those like animation moments?
Oh wow, yeah, I'll speak about 96,000 because we haven't really talked a lot about that, but like I remember, you know, being with the guys and like, you know, we found this street that like leads to the pool, and Jon was like, yeah, so we're just gonna kind of, you know, figure it out with it. He had this vision of this of the story from the very beginning. Both the, you know, the at the very end when the sun goes down and all the other like these huge moments, but he also allowed us to kind of like tweak them and just be ourselves and bring whatever ideas we thought we could bring to it. So like, you know, the whole being like walking down the street, I mean, we did it 1,000 times because it had
I can only imagine.
It had to be perfect. Like it was like all of the animation and like we didn't know what it was going to be. Like we were
that
just
blew
like,
my mind.
yeah, like
I didn't know what that was going to be.
Yeah, it surprised us, and when we finally saw it, we were like, wow, it actually worked. Because at first it was going to be something bigger, all these colors, and when we hit the golf club and all of this different stuff, and then he found a way to simplify it and just do just enough, just what the story called for. So, but that's just the genius of Jon Chu. Like he gets that, he understands that, and lets us go and dream and be our biggest selves on screen, and dream our biggest dreams, you know.
It was cool. We just had to use our imagination. And it was cool to see like this element be added into the film, right? This and this use of VFX and this use of like, you know, Leslie and Corey scene where the building is on the side and we see them dance on the side of a building. Of they dancing and you see their feet on the window and the kid is like, you know, looking out the window like, yo, these people dancing on the side of this building. Like, you know, to see, you know, it's not often that we get to see barrios and we get to see neighborhoods like Washington Heights, or like even the one I grew up in, Bushwick, and many neighborhoods all across New York, especially predominantly, you know, Black and brown neighborhoods, be portrayed in that way in a musical. And it was just so beautiful to see that, and to see Jon just really like, you know, push the boundaries when Melissa's running through the street and you see the garments, you see the, you know, the cloths falling, you know, beautifully off of the top of these buildings, and they represent her dreams falling off these buildings that are so familiar to her. Like, you know, that for me added a whole vibe to the movie that I didn't even know was going to be in there until we started shooting, and Jon was telling us this moment is going to have this 96,000. You're going to create this golf club, and you know, so I loved it.
Jon had told us beforehand. I mean, really, really early in the process, before we even started shooting, when we were in rehearsals, just kind of going through the motions, that he wanted to add this animation aspect to it. And he showed us a video, and immediately Anthony, Noah, Corey, and I just fell in love with the concept and couldn't wait to see it.
96,000, I'd finally fix housing. Rent is escalating, the rich are penetrating. We pay our corporations when we should be demonstrating.
What's up, Corey?
Great.
Love CinemaBlend.
Oh, we love you right back. I was wondering if you could speak to why it was important for you to kind of add these fantastical elements to the movie.
Well, it was never about adding big moments to this movie. It was always about going internal, actually. It was always about, hey, we're not going to have a villain in this. There's not going to be guns and knives, and we're not going to be fighting gentrification. Like, this is post-gentrification. Things are changing already. The question of what are you going to do now? That was a more interesting question, that everyone had different solutions for that. However, once you get into that. And Usnavi is telling this story to children, and he says the streets were made of music. Now we give ourselves permission to use this language of movement and music to express whatever we want. And each individual character can use it however they want. So if you're Vanessa and you want us to feel what it feels like to feel trapped and unseen and unheard, then you can run on that street in the middle of traffic and scream at the top of your lungs, and no one noticed you for 1 second, and you're not gonna cry because you don't cry. So instead, tapestry's gonna fall from the buildings in all colors and patterns, and we're gonna feel the impact of that as big as it is, because we know how it feels to feel trapped. And then we're gonna pull out of her eye and realize she hasn't gone anywhere. That's, to me, the perfect expression of why a musical should exist in the first place. And so we just try to do that for every character in every song.
This is me.
Melissa, your character's story got really fleshed out as well, and we learned more about Vanessa's dreams. What was it like bringing that new element to the story?
I loved it. I thought it was a great gift to be able to know her a little bit more, and the fact that I'm the first person that gets to live out these new sides of Vanessa was a beautiful thing, and it gave me so much to work with, and it made it so much easier for me to make this character my own, because it was, I think Vanessa in the musical, she's a little bit of a mystery. You don't really know a lot about her. She wants to leave, but you don't know why, and so getting to know a little bit about her dreams and her ambitions is I think beautiful, and it goes to show how every character has dreams, and they're all equally as important.
I saw it in the Heights first. I saw it on Broadway. I was like a huge fan. So when Hamilton came out, I kept being like, y'all like are sleeping on the show that came out first. So now that, Hamilton went crazy last summer with your performance, with those folks who loved Hamilton, who don't know In the Heights, what do you think is going to really bring people in?
Well, number one, it's the same guy wrote both of them, right? So it's right. Bruno Mars, 24 Karat Magic hits. We trying to hear the next record, right? So it's like, this is Lin, but this, it's funny because like you said, this was Lin's first baby. This, and this one took him longer. If I'm remembering correctly, 8 years as opposed to 6, that Hamilton took, I think there's something so special about this show, because not only is it personal to the person who wrote it and made it, right? Like more personal, right? Like I think, Lin took a story from a book with Hamilton and really created it into this fantastical thing with these larger than life concepts, and and with a casting that broke barriers and really like showed the world that, we can tell this story that's always been told this one way, this way. And that reflects the world nowadays. But for people who love Hamilton, who haven't seen In the Heights, this is, I think, this story is a story that this is the film. This is a piece of art that I've never seen. The kid in me has never seen. The movie-going child in me has never watched a film like this.
Right.
This pulse and the music that we hear, the culmination of Latinos from all over the world, and like how colorful this cast is, and this vibe and this music that feels like the music we listening to right now, and feels and the story just feels so current. I think people have a lot to look forward to, especially folks who have seen Hamilton and loved it. I'm like, yo, this film is, dare I say, this is my favorite piece of Lin's. Whether I was
I've had that hot take as well. Don't worry, I'm with you. I'm like controversial opinion, and Nights is like my number one. You know
you love me.
I was very curious to see if there were any points where Sunrise was involved in the movie, or if you tried to fight for that song, because I just think that one is just so gorgeous.
Oh man, we all love Sunrise.
Yeah.
Like we were all upset about that song not being in this adaptation, but we knew that there's so many beautiful songs in this musical. We knew that some of them weren't gonna be able to make it in. Like Nina doesn't have a mom in this version, and we feel like a lot of those decisions that, obviously very hard decisions that Jon, Lin, Kiara had to make in order to make our movie, fit. They amplified and only like heightened the stakes for every character, and also really made the moments where you do get to see them in these in songs like When the Sun Goes Down, When You're Home, and like they made those moments so important and made us give all of our characters like their due emotion, and like bring all of our, it made us bring us all of ourselves to our characters in the moments that they did have their song or their songs, because we knew that you weren't going to be able to get the full context of a Sunrise.
Right.
Well,
I think it succeeds so well. Like there's all this stuff gets cut, but yet the characters feel deeper. So
yeah.
I think that is really interesting. And
that's to Kiara's, genius writing as well, and like them going back and forth with us. Lin also giving us context to how he wrote and what he envisioned for every song and what each line tells of every character. It made us dig deeper,
Any songs or moments that didn't make it into the movie that you wish, if we just had an extra however many minutes and we could squeeze this bad boy in?
So many. But I love that you talk about moments, because that's what makes all these. The moment where Usnavi looks out the window and we're pushing in, and it's that shot is sort of Meet Me in St. Louis. That everything's framed in that movie. It's about home, and we're pushing in on him, and he's looking out and he's yearning for something, and there's a glass in front of him, trapping him in his bodega, and yet the reflection in it is his community, and they're not just like being solemn. They're actually daring him to break that glass. They're daring him to dream bigger. And so I love those kind of moments, that pressure that we get to feel there. There are moments where him and Nina have some scenes together that were just so adorable, because they're basically brother and sister talking about the future. And she says to him, like, how do you know it's going to be the same when you get back to the DR? And he's like, it's fine. It's going to be the same. And he gets out. We didn't need it, but I loved seeing them together. So some of these character pairings, even Jimmy Smits and Corey, they had some scenes together that were really adorable that I thought was great. But, we already had a long movie, so we had to make some choices.
When this project was coming together and it came out that you were playing Kevin Rosario, I was like, that casting is unbelievable. I was so psyched.
Come on, Corey. You said what?
No, wait a minute. I said
can't sing.
Well, I mean, it was nice to hear your singing voice in the opening number.
Morning, Usnavi.
Nice voice, by the way.
Beautiful. I was kind of ready. I didn't know which songs were switching order. I didn't know whether or not Inutil was gonna be in the song. Was there ever a part of you that wanted to dig your teeth into Kevin's big number in the musical?
Oh, Corey, so you obviously got that musical thing happening, and which is so cool. That it's a wonderful thing that you're talking about with regards to the iteration and change from the Broadway musical, which is 2.5 hours, to this film version that we have that has become, with Kiara's draft, Lin and Kiara's work was expanded and become much more current in terms of the themes. I mean, the basic storyline is there with the neighborhood and all of those things, and then Jon's visualization on a cinematic level, and these odes that you talked about, Corey, in terms of old Hollywood and what audiences. I was totally fine when I saw that script. I said, they found a way they cracked this nut, which is a gem to begin with, but they found a way to really crack this nut. So I can't wait for this is our little joy as we open up in the pandemic, and hopefully people will get to see it in theaters. But it was a joy to work on.
Olga, I was so pleased to see you back in this role. But like many characters in the movie, Abuela Claudia's story goes down a little different. The timing of Sensi is a little later. And I just wondering how it felt for you, what your process was like in this new version of the story.
Well, you know, when you're used to doing it one way, and then you have to kind of adapt and go with the flow. But I think the way the movie and the way they decided to give that little surprise of the placement of Paciencia,
Right.
I think it has much more impact now, and it's much more powerful. For me, it was much more emotional, the way the movie it has the placement versus the play. And you know, there's some little surprises for the people that are fans of the show, and a couple of changes. But I think that this John Chu's version is just, he really brought it to another a height that I never even imagined. With his visual creativity and genius, it just we never thought it could be seen this way. It's just he's amazing, you know.
There were a lot of actors, you know, who like are solid in their chops that participated. You know, I think we all came ready, right, with A game. When you have Lynn, Kiara, and John helming a project, you know, the difference, the first thing that comes to mind is that the rehearsal process and the preparation is different. So in a way, you have to, you know, do your preparation ample time prior, and then kind of keep it idling so that when it's go time, it's go time. But you know, this support, you know, we had all the support in place.
Dascha, I was so excited to meet your new character. I loved Cuca. I just loved her, you know, eating that ropa vieja, watching all the drama happen at dinner. So I just saw her chowing down while everything was going down. What was it like creating this new character for the movie?
It was fun. It was empowering. It was a true, you know, I did my due diligence to ensure that I showed the light of not just the salon woman or part of the salon ladies. I wanted it to show the figures of our communities, of the women that are constantly there, that watch us grow, that raise us, that, you know, are the therapies to our loved ones and beyond. And so for me, being the life of the party, but also celebrating and being led by Daniela, Daphne, and Stephanie, it was so, you know, it was so free. And to see, and to look to the left and to look to the right and see, wow, this is a true resemblance of what we are. You know, it was so racially diverse, and the music, the intentions behind, the energies were high, the stakes were high, but everybody was prepared, like Daphne said, and we were ready. With the guidance of Lynn, Kiara, and John, that just makes the job fluid. It makes it just vibe out. It's easier for you to just perform.
I'm so excited for everyone to see the movie and fall in love with this experience. Thanks for taking the time.
Go have some ropa vieja.
I already placed my order with the in-laws. I got out of that movie and I was like, I'm gonna need some ropa vieja immediately.
Today's all we got, so we cannot stop. This is our block in the heights.
Right now, having to pick whether to dive into Hamilton or Crazy Rich Asians 2 today, what would you do? What world are you feeling more?
What are you trying to do to me? I would focus on Wicked right now, because that's what I'm supposed to be focusing on. But you know, listen, Hamilton is this beacon of light, this iconic thing, and that's Tommy's and that's Lynn's and that's their whole world. But if they were ever like, John, what would you do with this? I'd pitch the hell out of that movie.